Wow. Wow.
So who is coming on vacation with me?
Yeah.
Can we take hers? Right, Guillaume, shall I?
Sure, maybe we should use a microphone.
Yeah.
Of course. Okay, who only speaks English here?
So should we do?
Okay.
Does it work? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So should we do English? Only?
Okay.
But feel free to
Anyway,
ask a question in French if you cannot ask it in English, and we'll translate it and
Yeah, we'll do
speak
that.
in English.
Okay. Okay. Merci, Luc. Thank you. Congratulations. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to ask Luc a few questions, and then, of course, we'll take questions from you guys. First of all, congratulations on the adventure, on the movie. I think you're totally crazy. The good crazy. The good crazy. Maybe you can start by telling us, how did this all start? What's the genesis of this project? Who did you meet first? How did the team come together?
Sure, thank you, Guillaume. Well, I've been into adventure, exploration, and expeditions for close to 30 years. Half my life has been tech investing, startups, technology between France and the US, and the other half has been adventure. And mostly in the polar regions, Arctic, Antarctica, Canadian Arctic, Greenland. I've always had a fondness for these regions. So if you get interested in these regions, the name Shackleton, comes up after a while. Some people know that here. And I always had in the back of my mind that I would do something related to Shackleton someday. And that day came in 2014 when talking to Ben, the guide, and other people. I thought, hey, maybe we should do that in the context of the 100th anniversary of the Endurance expedition, which was between 1914 and 1917. So starting to, our project in late 2014 made sense. So that was kind of a genesis of the idea. And when I was, set on actually doing it, I did assemble, like you do for a startup. You bring people and with different skills, and you just get started. And I did that first looking for the boat. The ship was the most important element in this expedition, was to have a sound, sturdy ship, and even more important, a great captain who had enough experience navigating in these waters. And after interviewing 9 captains, I did find Ben, the skipper, and his boat, and then the rest came together relatively easily, finding other team members, adventurers, and the important part of this was because it was partly celebrating the Shackleton expedition and its relative success. I wanted to have British, people, adventurers with me. Some other expeditions often had brought youngsters with me, Greenland, Canadian Arctic. In this case, it was impossible to bring teenagers in such an expedition because it's complicated, it's dangerous, it's school year, October, November. So we thought about bringing these young soldiers who were kind of a proxy for youth and being British at the same time. And at the last minute, we threw in Geraldine as a whimsical element. There was no real scientific reason, no particular reason, and we thought it was a reason enough to bring someone different, to bring some poetic element in the expedition.
But it's also a bet, because if somebody is not in the same mood as the others, it can ruin the whole atmosphere or even the project. Mm-hmm. How did this all go? I was surprised, maybe like all of you, with the two young soldiers injured in Afghanistan. So it seems like a funny team. How did it all work? What were your surprises? What was the best surprise and the worst surprise in the team?
Thank you. Yes, a great question. I mean, anytime you assemble a group, again, whether it's on my other side of business or for a trip like that, you know, there are risks of people not getting along or even worse, risks. There were also some objective risks, you know, people not being able to, you know, including myself, not being able to do some of the extreme things requested in such a project. The group was eclectic on purpose. So there was not really, you know, if you take 9 people all doing the same thing, all competing, and here it was eclectic enough that no one was really competing. It was not about breaking a record. It was more about interesting adventure. Interestingly, the boat, you know, was small, and 12 people on a boat like this is small, but still we had our space. You know, if you have enough of these Brits drinking French wine after dinner and talking forever, you can always go in your... Yeah, that's one option, which we didn't, as you can see, we didn't use that one, but you go in your cabin and you read or you watch movies and vice versa. So that worked well. I mean, Bertrand, the cameraman and director, who you don't see in the film, but who was a key person in the expedition, not only because he did most of the filming and the directing, but also because he's a great cook. He's a fantastic guy, very interesting and agreeable. What was I saying?
The mood and the two young Brits, the two young soldiers, for example.
Yeah. So these two youngsters were fantastic. I mean, great guys, lots of experience, and very different. I mean, yeah, except for watching TV and reports from war. You know, I'd never met a young guy who had been, fighting in Afghanistan and Iraq and shot at. And these guys actually had let's call it illegal GoPro video from the actual fighting, and they were showing us that. That's interesting. So yeah, great group, great eclectic group, and that's what made it last long. So yeah, I was talking about Bertrand because my point was, when we started with the idea of filming a real documentary as opposed to just a web video vignettes, we were almost hoping that there would be some drama, reality TV drama, something.
Somebody dying.
Yeah, or or something, fighting, but there was none of that really. So got stuck with a problem.
But what was the biggest challenge? It seems in the movie that there's been a few dangerous or borderline moments. And how do you compare that to your previous adventures? You mentioned Greenland and others.
Yeah.
Where do you rate this?
Yeah. For me and most of us, the main challenge was being at sea, rough seas all the time. I mean, 6 weeks we rarely had a moment of calm seas. And even though I'm from Brittany, France, I've been raised, sailing Brittany waters and all that. I mean, it's nothing compared to that. It's really difficult seas and waves, and we're very windy. Crossing Drake, it's 40, 50 knots. When we were in Zabadowski, the South Sandwich Islands, we clocked a 92 knots wind at sea. It's just incredible.
Which is in miles per hour?
It's about 150 miles per hour. So it's really severe winds. And I was not, even our captain, who had been, it was the 20th time he was in this region of the world, he had never, he had never been to the South Sandwich Islands, and the 92 knots, he had never seen something like that. The barometer in 2 hours went 26 points, which is just incredible. In 4 hours, usually, it would be 2 points in an hour. So it's complicated. So for me and most people, the unexpected part was to be always, sick or half sick at sea. The cold was not a surprise for any of us, because if you've been to the poles and North Pole, Antarctica, it's going to be cold. The storm was a surprise. We were not expecting that, especially because we had a great weather forecaster from Chamonix. So we were getting our weather forecast, mountain forecast, from a meteorologist in Chamonix